GOAT writes, Kamala is one of the most unliked politicians ever. I think Gavin will be their nominee. That is my suspicion, is that they have to say Kamala, and then there's going to be something that takes place and some articles about Kamala. She's just not well liked by anybody, and she is particularly has a way of communicating that just makes you really not like her. I mean, that BET performance, like on these streets, it's just so patronizing and so ridiculous.
So we all have heard now that Joe Biden is stepping down. He's not going to run for president for the 2024 election. We're hearing now that he's endorsed Kamala Harris, and we know that their camps for a long time didn't get along. And Kamala Harris, I don't know if she's going to win as president. You know, a lot of people in this country don't like Kamala Harris. The black community, you know, a large portion of the black community will never endorse Kamala Harris because they don't see her as African American. And a lot of people don't like her track record when she was the DA in San Francisco and the stunts and things that she was doing. There was a young man that was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison during the time that she was DA, but we found out that he was framed by the San Francisco Police Department. Now we know that he came out, he ended up getting a lot of money, and he ended up endorsing 3 years ago Kamala Harris and Joe Biden when they ran because he didn't want to vote for Trump. He believed that they would have a black agenda, but oh, was he wrong. There was no black agenda. We saw what happened. We saw that they had immediate bills set in place for Asians and the LGBTQ community, and the immigration situation in Chicago, New York City, Philadelphia, sanctuary cities across America. There was no black agenda, to the point where Kamala Harris went on TV and said, I'm not doing nothing specifically for black people, but she did things specifically for other groups. So Kamala Harris is definitely not liked by a large portion of the African American community. But this was the brother in San Francisco that was sentenced wrongfully convicted, and his sentence was ultimately overturned. But let's check out what he had to say.
I'm Ken Bastida, a Bay Area man wrongfully convicted under Kamala Harris's watch years ago is now supporting the VP candidate. Jamal Truelove spoke with KPIX5 about his time behind bars for a crime he didn't commit.
You see how, police treat us, African Americans in this country in general. There was no difference being here in San Francisco, the way that, we were treated by police officers within being framed and so forth and so on.
Kamala Harris was the San Francisco district attorney when Jamal Truelove was convicted for the 2007 murder of his friend. He was sentenced to 50 years to life. A judge later found that he was framed by police. Truelove served 6 years before being acquitted in a 2015 retrial. Now he's supporting Harris.
If we apply the pressure on the Democrats and on Kamala, but more so Biden, because he is the he is the top card for the Democrats, they'll be more reasonable for our black agenda. That's what we ultimately need to do, instead of just sitting aside and not saying anything, is controlling our vote and teaching our youth also that, your vote do count, your vote do matter in this country.
Harris is getting criticism for her track record as San Francisco DA and California Attorney General. Truelove lived it. So we asked him what his message is for Harris and her critics.
Come up with a black agenda definitively for the people that is struggling in this country and vocalize it. That's what people want to hear. That's what people want to know, that being in that position, you do speak for the women because you are a woman, but you also speak for black folks across America. Black people are not going to vote for you just because you're black.
Well, as you saw there, Jamal Truelove appeared with some members of the group 4HD. Now, they're advocating for an increase of black representation in tech, affordable health care, and defunding the police.
So he's basically saying that he's going to vote for the lesser of two evils. He would rather vote at that time for Biden and Kamala because basically they would have more of a black agenda. But oh, was he wrong? They didn't have a black agenda, because see, this was 3 years ago when we were dealing with this, right? And we've seen since they've gotten to the presidency what happened. Immigration, laws passed for Asians and all kinds of stuff. There was absolutely no black agenda. But again, that's what happens when you vote for the lesser of two evils. You know, what I mean, that's why our young people, they have to educate themselves as to how this process works and what our positions is in this marketplace that we're living in. Because we're the consumers. We're at the bottom. So they don't really take us serious because they know that we're dependent upon them. So how much? There's only but so much unity as a group we're going to have because our lifestyle is not dependent upon each other. They know this because they created the matrix and the system that we're living in. But let's listen to what Candace Owens had to say about Kamala Harris, and we'll come right back.
I was with Biden, but I don't know about Kamala. I don't really like Kamala. By the way, as she says, these streets are talking. Girl, these streets are talking. And people just don't like Kamala across the board. I could say that. Democrats are not fond of her. Black America is not fond of her. There's something about her that just comes across as extremely condescending and patronizing. And it is a well-known thing that her and Biden's teams could not stand each other. So everything you're seeing, again, is performative. Oh, like, of course, pass the torch to her. He has to say that, by the way. No, even if he does not, and they are not planning, and they are going to now put pressure on their delegates to not vote for her, they, of course, had to say that he was going to pledge his support to her, because if he didn't, well, there would be a contingent. I think I showed it to you on a previous episode of black women in the Democrat Party who were like, he better be Kamala Harris or I'm gonna, and I'm not doing this, by the way, as a stereotype. This woman literally was thug life. Who was she speaking to, guys? Was that like, who was she on when we showed that woman who was a delegate, and she was just like delegate, and she was like, I am not at all going to deal with this. You know, she better be the next person if he sits down. So they understand that it will look really bad if they do not lean in to saying that they really do want Kamala. But even that feels a bit performative to me, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm starting to see articles creep out, and they seem like attacks on Kamala. Again, if we can go into our time machine and go back to 2020, well, every time that someone tried to interject the truth about Kamala, which is that she slept her way to the top, it's a fact. She was with some 6-year-old man, got her start in the political career, and they would go, oh my gosh, how dare you say this? That's so sexist. Well, then suddenly on July 6th, the Daily Mail actually published a headline about the fact that Kamala Harris was, thoughting through life. And they basically said she got her political start, her political upstart, because she was dating this guy, Willie, can't think of his last name right now. And he was married, and he was in his 60s, and Kamala Harris was just a spring chicken. And that is how she entered the political scene. So she was not somebody who was a part of their ecosystem, but they tapped her in 2020 because they were like, oh, like the thing that we always say is that look at the Republican Party, it's so white and there's no diversity. And how are we going to be able to say that if we're running Joe Biden, who has been extraordinarily wealthy his entire life and whose son is becoming extraordinarily wealthy while smoking crack simply because he's doing dirty deals in Ukraine? So what are we going to do? We're going to hire Kamala Harris. We're going to select Kamala Harris to be the vice president. And he's the only person I can think of. And then we can sell. I know that when she was sworn into Congress, she was talking about how she's an Indian, but we'll just sell the people, like, forget the Indian side. Like, now she's back to black. And the streets are talking, ha, 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 ha. And that's what they did. So that is the only reason that Kamala Harris, they literally did not have another person that they felt could be the vice president and allow them to use the isms. You don't like her, you're a sexist. You don't think that she's amazing, you're a misogynist, deep-seated misogyny. You don't want this ticket to win. Is it because Kamala Harris is black? Kinda. I feel like it is. It's because you're a racist. So they just needed her to do the thing.
Just remember out there, man, the world is one big stage, man. And it's just like they just all having a party, man. Candace Owens said a lot of stuff, and I'm not a fan of Candace Owens at all. I believe that she's a panderer, to a certain group, a demographic for money. That's all she cares about. And she flip-flops. So I don't, but what she's saying right now, there could be truth to it. And like I said, I don't think that the Democratic Party really wants to endorse Kamala Harris. Now, I know a lot of black women want to endorse Kamala Harris because they want to, it's for the symbolism of a so-called black woman being president. But she doesn't identify as an African American, nor does she identify with our culture. And as Candace Owens alluded to that, you know, where one day she's Indian, the next day she's Black American, and it's just, you know, and all the things that she did to get in position and get to the top. And this is why I think Joe Biden doesn't like her too much. So she's not like really well received or well liked. And as a vice president, she was basically invisible, you know, for a long time. So I don't know. But, you know, we'll see, because as I said, she's being endorsed to run for president. I know that we're in the time of the woman with the 2030 agenda, UN 2030 agenda, you know, more inclusiveness for women and girls. So we're in a time where you start to see women being pushed to the front. And I don't have a problem with that. Women being pushed to the fronts and having the same power as men at times. Hey, you know, it is what it is. We going into a new time. But I don't know if the American country, if the American people are ready for Kamala Harris to be president of the United States. I just don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you endorse Kamala Harris. What do you think about Kamala Harris? Do you think that she would represent the African Americans? Do you think that she will actually set things in place, or meet some of the demands that the African American community is asking across America? Do you think that she will step up and meet those demands, or will she stand strict on, I'm not doing nothing specifically for African Americans? Remember she said that? And will y'all hold her to that? Let me know. Leave your comments in the comment section. Subscribe to Street Media TV. Hit that like button. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.